I'm really excited to be here to share. I wrote this column called Going Pro for a recent issue of Make Magazine that was about how my co-founder and I started our startup company, Sifteo, taking this blue sky idea and turning it into a funded product shipping company with a really great team. So I'm going to talk about Sifteo, what we do for just a minute, and then some lessons learned from this process we've been through. So first off, Sifteo cubes are these little inch-scale computers that are made for play. And I really think that smart hardware is the next major trend that a lot of us are a part of and pushing it forward right now. And so we're building a play company enabled by this trend. And the basic idea is that we're enchanting everyday playthings, the humble block, with the magic of interactivity. So here's a little bit of video showing some of the interactions that we're building. There's an insane amount of technical wizardry packed inside to make them work. But on the outside, they're radically simple. You can download new games for your cubes digitally. Let's take a look at what you can do. Sifteo cubes can be containers for other objects. Slide the letter tiles to make words. Or they can hold particles that flow from cube to cube. They can be windows into another world. They understand what your hands can do, like pouring a liquid, or twisting a key in a lock to open a chest. Or flicks, nudges, and collisions. All right, so I wanted to go through 6 lessons learned. I thought about it a few days ago, and I boiled it down to the first 6 that came to mind, which I figured were the 6 most important. So number 1, keep the manufacturing as close to home for as long as you can, and then when you have a warehouse that's going to take your product from the factory and send it out to people, keep that close to your house too. We did this sort of half right at Sifteo. We manufacture our product in China, but then we have our third-party logistics warehouse in Fremont. And to China, we take frequent trips. Some of our team is there now, some is leaving soon. We go there all the time. It's pretty expensive and time-consuming. And what it means is we end up doing what you see here, which we called China at home, which was basically our way of doing a little bit of last-minute QA and firmware updating and making sure everything was ready to go right here in California. So this is my co-founder, Jeevan, testing some cubes. And so keeping as much of it close to you as possible is super helpful. Number 2, make the price right. I remember when I was a kid learning a fact that, for some products, the price you bought them in the store was twice as much as what it cost to make that product. And I was so indignant because I knew I was getting ripped off when I heard that. But now I understand why, after making a product and selling it, why that's important. Like every consumer, I also wish everything was cheaper, but I don't feel like I'm getting ripped off anymore. There's a great book that goes into this. It's called From Concept to Consumer. I recommend it for all makers who want to start a business. And so this is a page I think is the most instructive. It's a breakdown of what it costs to make a product and what it costs in various stages. So this particular example, just to summarize it, it costs $27 to make this product. It gets sold to a retailer for $54, and then that retailer, say a Best Buy, sells it to a consumer for $100. So it means that only $27 of profit goes to the maker of this product, and $46, which in the industry gets called 46 points, goes to the retailer for a $100 sale. But that $27 for the maker has to cover all kinds of stuff, like R&D for new products and returns, all the other overhead, which is basically running the business. And then the retailer typically wants anywhere from 15 to 60 points, depending on who they are as a retailer and how good they are at getting customers to come in their stores and buy things. So the upshot is that make sure that the price that you need to sell your product at can cover the cost that your business needs and be acceptable as a price to consumers. Lesson number 3. Make it for the people. There should be an M close to me here. And what I mean by this is I'm a fan of vertical businesses rather than horizontal ones. No offense to the makers here that are building platforms to enable other makers. I've used those platforms myself. They're very helpful, very useful. But I think there's more to be done in making products designed for end consumers, for real people rather than building tools for other makers. And the reason is that it's hard to get developers to adopt a new tool. Like there's a consolidation where everybody's using Arduino and now everyone's using Raspberry Pi. There's just a few of these platforms that become the popular ones. And so it's tempting, I know, as an engineer to build the tool that you always wished you had, to scratch that itch that you have, and you know that if you have this particular kind of dev board that nobody's really making quite what you need, you could sell it to everybody. But it's really hard to get people to adopt a new version of anything. And so if you're making a product that's for the people, the consumers out there in the world rather than for other makers, you just have a much bigger audience. Lesson number 4, find the experts. So as another case study, apologize for the cut-off pictures here, this is the Sifteo advisory group. People from Flip Video, back when there was a company that sold flip video cameras, Sling, Xbox, Uma, and Atari. And as a side note, the silver lining of Flip Video going into Cisco and becoming no more was that we got some great advisors. So it's amazing who will meet you for coffee. You sit down with people that you never thought would take the time to talk to you. They'll give you great advice. Okay, lesson number 5. Start fast, then iterate. Get to the second generation of your product as quick as you possibly can, because your first generation might show some of the potential, but it probably won't really be right. So, quick overview for Sifteo. We launched our first generation product in August 2011. I think of it as the concept car. Little cubes talk to your computer, programs ran on the computer, controlled the cubes wirelessly, and the play experience was great, but it was not convenient enough. The fact that you had to crack your laptop open and have it nearby meant that there was too much friction to get to the experience. So we put our heads down for a year, built a second generation platform that was portable, that was cheaper, and even better in many ways, like graphics, and can control up to 12 cubes at a time. So this is the one that we're putting into retail and investing to build a developer community around. Okay, real quick, last lesson. Your software will protect your hardware. There's a lot of There's a lot of fear that makers have that their hardware is going to get knocked off, especially if I make it in China. Like, isn't it just going to get ripped off? You can take some precautions, like we only provide encrypted versions of our firmware to our manufacturing partner. We have a special bootloader that pulls the code in and decompresses it, so then you can never read the chip back. But really, anything you do that's a technological barrier is just a deterrent. If your product is popular enough to start getting knocked off, that's a good problem to have. And really protecting your product with your brand and with legal recourses is really the better way to do it. So that's kind of what we do. We have a game studio, we build software. It's an ecosystem of hardware and software together. And we even have developers making great games. Like this is one it's called Shifted. It's as if Rubik's Cube were invented for Sifteo. Really cool stuff. We have other applications like game interfaces that blend Microsoft Surface and Sifteo, and then finally, somebody's making a ADHD detection app. So there's the recap, lessons learned, and I think it's amazing and satisfying to build a product like this that came from your own idea and turns into a shipping product in a real company. So I hope that's helpful for any of you that want to do this. Thank you.